This is RPMMORadio.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A podcast all about role-playing and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job!
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Strafe, and Kishmas.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players. Welcome to RPMMORadio 70th episode, Magic and You, our first part of a 3-part series. How's this all work again? And we're not just talking about the show. We're actually going to talk about Magic, because I have no idea how the show works. It's largely just pieced together with like baling wire and fish hooks. I am one of your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, and with me today is the full crew plus one: Jazz, Sib, Kishmas, Strafe, and Uni.
Hi, folks.
How's everybody doing today?
Oh.
Boo? Boo.
Hello. Doing all right, boss.
All right. Well, hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving. If you didn't, I mean, what'd you expect? You were with your family. I mean, the food hopefully was at least good. I mean, especially if you got those little yam things with the crusty marshmallows on top that are just a little bit burnt. I love those.
You know, I think that's kind of a Southern thing, because when I lived in Maine, I'd never heard of that before.
Oh, so we should basically give Maine back to Canada. That's what I'm hearing. I will start the petition, return Maine to Canada.
I mean, they got lobsters. They'll be all right.
Ooh, that's true. They do have the spiders of the sea. How
we
desperate.
boiled everything, though, so...
That's true. I mean, how desperate did the first people to come here on shore, how hungry did they have to be to go out to the ocean and see one of those sea spiders crawl on land and think, it beats starvation. I don't know. I don't think I would have chanced it. I'm pretty sure I'd have just died. But that's just me. So, whatever. So, everyone, appreciate you tuning in. We do this every week. I mean, except when we don't. 7 Central Time on Saturdays. We've only got 3 episodes left in the year. Can you believe it? This will be 2 years under our belt. 2 whole years about talking about roleplay. And we still have a shit ton to get to. This is a really big hobby. We really need to find an easier hobby. Anybody want to get into the model airplanes or something? I just sniff glue and be happy all day. Although I'm sure there's still some guy like Ted that's yeah, well, mine's the most expensive and it's the best rocket ever. Fuck you, Ted. But, alright, well, yeah. Tune in, twitch.tv/RPMMORadio. If you haven't followed us yet, you should, because, I mean, it's what good, honest people like Madzilla2000 and, gonna butcher it, Twun Knight or TW1 Knight. I don't know. I don't make these names up. We appreciate you guys subscribing or following, whatever it is, follow. If you do want to subscribe with an Amazon Prime, you can do it for free. You get a free one. You can throw it any Twitch channel that you like for no reason at all. You should do that. And it is, of course, we are a podcast, not just a Twitch channel, which for some reason is a confusing thing to some of the Twitch people. I don't know why, but we are a podcast. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, wherever free podcasts are sold is where you can get them. And, of course, because everything has to do that if it is a podcast, there's a Patreon. And those at our raid boss level, like the Truth Bob, you can go to patreon.com/RPMMORadio. $5 and above still get you a free sticker. I mean, it's, free in that you're paying for it. I'm a capitalist. You guys are really rocking it tonight. You're still having the turkey low. Is that what it is? A week later.
The long drawn beef withdrawals, bro.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, you guys are really just the energy. It's like Jonestown the morning after.
is what it is.
See, I mean, that was a solid joke, and not a single one of you. Nothing. Just. I made fun of a cult. We had Kool-Aid. There's dead bodies everywhere. Nothing. It's gonna be a terrible show. You guys are the worst people. This is what you get when you have a whole bunch of people playing video games while we're trying to do a podcast. This is what it gets you. This is it. This is right. It. I bet you Wackachoto, he wouldn't be doing this. I know he wouldn't because he's awesome, and he's on mobile right now.
Yeah.
What's up, brother?
Ask him to play Star Wars Galaxy with me, and then he'd be playing with me. So
Yeah, but where does it?
By the way, Cab, I'm scratching around. Just saying.
There's so many different ways we can take that, and I'm going to take all of them as bad.
Well, it's code, so don't worry about it.
All right. Well, now that everybody's not talking, let's see if I can get some of these assholes to actually speak up for a change. All right. So, let's see. I guess we could go into what we've been doing in Roleplay. We'll go ahead. I'm sorry, what was that, Smart Mouth?
Nothing.
No, okay, you know what? With that mouth of yours, Mouthy Mouth McMoutherson, you're going to go first now. Yeah, I was going to go with someone totally different, but yeah, you had to speak. You had to speak up. Let that be a lesson. The patriarchy is alive and pushing women around still on this show.
Uh-huh.
Woman!
Good to know. Good to know.
Also, Also, she actually had roleplay, so she's really.
I actually had roleplay.
The pickings are a little slim between a lot of us this week.
Yeah, I really didn't have that much either, but what I did have was fun.
Oh, that's good.
I got to see Regier's new place. That was not roleplay though, but that was fun because he's actually a very talented decorator, and I was very pleased.
No shit, really? I haven't even
really
visited.
Is.
Huh?
Yeah, you need to go see it. It's really
secret.
Awesome. He did such a good job. So
I hope.
Oh, it's not a secret anymore because you did an amazing job, and you need to be proud of that.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
Yeah.
As an artist who does the whole color form matching styles thing, you did a really good job. Most people don't do that.
Before last night, I was told that so-and-so's villa was great. I'm like, I'm going to do better. Because it was much, much more plain and bland.
No, you did a really good job. And it's a lot of people who are very good decorators, but the one thing that they do, in my opinion, that I don't like is that they mix styles in the wrong way. Like, you'll have Altmer over here, and then there'll be two red guard chairs, and then over here...
They just mix their shit together.
It's just, and it doesn't look bad from a completely...
It just looks messy.
But it looks messy because I know, as a person in this world, that those two styles don't go together.
So roleplay.
Yes, I'm terrible. I am, but that's because it's always been a thing. I've enjoyed it, and I try to make things flow and stuff. Anyway.
So flowing aside, roleplay.
So flowing aside, he did a very good job. I was very amazed, and I wanted to give him the kudos he deserved.
Aww.
Anyway, so Tea House was very quiet, but we did get a little role play in with my associates.
Was it really? It's been so friggin' busy. It had to have been the holiday, I guess, huh?
Well, no, it wasn't that there are people there, but nobody's talking about anything other than bullshit. And a lot of it
I get
you. It doesn't.
So plenty of chat scroll without saying anything.
Right.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
I didn't really. Whereas I would like to see, I made a connection with one of the gentlemen on the other corner, and we kind of role played a little bit of looking back and forth because she's watching him. You know how Sully does that.
Visual volleyball, gotcha.
Yeah, kind of visual volleyball, which was nice. But for the most part, I've noticed pretty much across the board, if I had to say there was one thing that drives me crazy about ESO roleplay is that they do not interact with each other. So what one little group is doing is completely separate from anyone else in the room. And so it's kind of like there's 5 separate rooms in one room and nobody interacts with each other. This is true in Riften. It's true at the Tea House. It's true all over the place.
So when someone starts fighting in one corner, the others it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. They don't
Right,
react
okay.
to it. They, we had like in Riften, there was a guy that started yelling inside the bar, and it wasn't a troll; it was an actual role player. But nobody responded to what he was doing, but like 2 of us. Now, Seal doesn't care if someone yells, so she's not going to get upset about it. But she did look over at him.
You do what you would do in a real bar, which is like, what's going on over there?
What is he doing over there? But at least I made the effort to make that connection.
Shut up, kid.
I'm going to kill my son. I am going to kill my son. Okay.
Well, now that the FBI has proof on you, I mean,
just remind him,
gentlemen, we got him.
Remind him anything said will be heard by a lot of people. Oh, hold on. She's put herself on mute while she beats her children silently.
So long, alibi.
Okay, I'm back.
She hits him with a nice bag of Valencia oranges.
Anyway, so that's hard because when you're in the tea house, you want to interact with people and you're trying to make new role play. And when everybody's just in their trenches and nobody interacts with anybody, there's no way to get anything going. It can be very disheartening.
That's the very definition of the clique kind of groups.
Yeah.
That's a clique right there. Is there?
Okay, because see, I don't know what to call that, but I know that I never had to really deal with it anywhere before until here. It's been really bad here.
It's each group their own guild, and each guild doesn't interact with people outside their little guild, but they still want to be in public.
Where everybody can see them, but they still
so
don't
that they can get more people for their guild, but they don't actually interact with people outside their. That's my theory.
Like some of the chicks that have kids, they will bring their little children in baskets, whatever, but they interact with people.
Woo, woo, woo.
And I have to give them credit for that because they at least interact
that's
with
good.
people. And they're like, when their kids make a noise, though, most people just pretend like the babies aren't even there. That bugs me because if there was a kid making a noise in a basket, you're going to notice. I don't care how, is it a cat? Is it a slug or is it a kid?
And you grab them by the leg and you make baby chucks. We've gone over this before.
Baby chucks. Anyway, so that was one of the things that I had to deal with in the tea house. That there's a level of frustration that's building in.
It's a weird community thing in ESO, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know how to deal with that, and I don't know how to combat it because nothing I've done so far has changed it. It's just very.
You don't. It's basically comes down to an individual that's willing to break out of that shell. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's kind of what in Riften. I think one of the reasons that it works more is because there's so many ERPers that they want attention. They start interacting with you, and then the people that actually do RP start interacting with you because everyone else is. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It kind of catches on maybe in Riften, and so it's a little easier to deal with.
Yeah.
I did find a new guild for Zasher, and I'm working on getting him in, although they're very busy or not around. I'm not sure which one. One is bad. One is not bad. I'm not really sure which one it is.
Yeah, well, it is the week after a holiday, but I mean,
it is a holiday, and I'm not gonna make any decisions until after January.
But like, that's full, like if it's been all week. I mean, that was last Thursday was the last Thursday before this. Last Thursday was Thanksgiving, so that's kind of it's a good long time, yeah.
It's been a while, and I'm still working on it. But I mean, we'll see because the few people that I interact with in this guild, I really like.
Yeah.
So even if it's just 3 people, if they're willing to interact with Zasher and have RP on Zasher, I really don't care if there's 4 people in the guild that are at it. I don't care. So it's just going to be a process of waiting until the person that brings people in has time to bring. It Zasher
could be
in.
We have that bottleneck once with. I forget what. I don't think it was. Well, yours was one of them for a time when you were the only one around for a while, and you were the bottleneck of getting people on. But
and that's kind of the same thing.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Unlike me, where I could meet with 4 or 5 people at once, this person only meets one-on-one. So that's increasing, I think, some of the bottleneck. But I mean, everybody's different. So I'm looking forward to that. I also have the new Argonian Guild, which is moving along slowly. They have a really strange time set. It's not prime time. So they're there during the day, and then they're late at night. And that doesn't work for me.
No, not so much.
So I don't know if it's going to work out or not, because the times that they meet and the times that I'm available do not mix. Right about the time that I'm starting to wrap up, the guild leader logs on.
Right. And the time you're logging, the time you're logging in, they're finishing early on, and the time you're logging out, they're coming back.
They started at like 5 my time, and I don't even get into game until 6. And yeah, so again, it's timing. But I'm being more careful this time, because that's what happened kind of in the last guild with Zasher, was that the time and the style didn't match. And so
it was servants of the temple. Everyone knows it was servants of the temple. It's all right. You could say it.
I don't like to name names.
Oh, it wasn't bad.
I don't want to upset
It just wasn't a fit for you. There's nothing wrong with that.
It just didn't fit. The time didn't fit, and a lot of the people didn't like my character, and they don't know me, and I don't like to talk OOC, so it just didn't work. But the Argonian Guild seems to be a lot like that. They're all very OOC all the time. I don't do that. He's asked me several occasions to change the way I RP.
Yeah.
And I've been like, oh, see, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. He wants me to,
honey.
Yeah, you're sweet. You're really adorable, but that's not going to happen. He wants me to do the whole paragraph thing. With the little continueds and all of that.
Oh yeah.
So all my talking and emotes are in the same thing, and I do emotes and then talking.
Yeah, you've always had a weird hang up with that.
No, it's not weird. It makes sense.
Well, it's weird for me because I don't do that, but it's never bothered me. It's just your hang up with it is weird. Not the fact that you do it.
I do try to do more with the paragraph thing, but it is not the way I like to emote and then talk.
Like I said,
and
you're weird.
I don't like to mix the two.
She is not.
What were you saying, Uni?
I said no. I totally agree with her. It gives your eyes and your brain a little break, because the whole paragraph thing and continued and another paragraph. Oh my god, that just makes me want to punch someone.
You're waiting forever, and then finally you get this brick of crap, and by then you don't even want to read it. So,
unless you're a fast typer, then it's okay. You can get away with that.
Then it's okay.
Well, I do type fast, but I don't like that style.
No, I'm talking about the others, Jazz. We know you type fast. You've bragged about it every episode. 70 episodes in, and we know you're a fast typer.
Anyway,
she types 5,000 words a second. We're aware.
Stop. You're so bad. Anyway.
Well, because of you.
So, on top of all of that, our guild is growing, which isn't a bad thing. But it does mean I have, I'm going to get to a certain point where I'm going to be like, okay, time to kick people out.
Yeah.
I have too many people. I know what happens. You get to a certain size, and then the drama starts. So we're reaching that cap. We're getting very close to that cap. I think we have about 30 people on a busy night all at once.
I've noticed it's quite a few people on lately.
So there's quite a few people on at once, and that's kind of my limit. So I'm not really going to look to bring anybody new in. But I've been getting people in and talking to people, and the whole recruiting thing can be very busy for me, especially when there's no other officers on. And we've had a slew of officers who've been sick and busy, and poor things. It's just that time of year. So I've had to kind of pick up the slack to do that. And so that kept me busy too. But I did get a chance to, like I said, I saw Rajir's new place, and I got a lot of Cial time since I didn't have much time for RP development on my other characters, which are more complex. All of my other characters can be kind of complex. So Cial's very easy. Go find somebody with a thin skin, start poking them until they get mad and leave, and then start over, wash, rinse, repeat. That's her form of having fun. She's a terrible person, and
so you're telling us you're a soft verbal troll.
Yes. On Cial, yes, I am. My other characters are very nice. They don't do that. But Cial finds there was this guy that was in there who was very grumpy and sitting there, and she waved at him. He says, "Don't wave at me, tree elf." And of course, at that moment, from then on, he had a target on his head. Because then she was like, "What kind of tree? Do you not like trees?" And she just poke until he stormed out. When he came back, she goes, "Did you find your nanny?" He goes, "What's the matter with you? Why are you bothering me? It's just so much fun."
You're in public, dumbass.
I apparently was entertaining like everybody there who was talking. Since I got a couple tells when it was over, and they're like, "That was great." Yeah, well, you should have chimed in. It would have been more fun.
You're right. Anyway. instead of telling me out of character next time, why don't you say something?
Yeah. So although it was very quiet at the tree for the most part all week, I did get a lot of really good roleplay on Cial because she got to be a troll and she got to talk with some of her friends, and it was relaxing for me to just pick on someone and have some fun. So
yeah,
that was really it.
Cool. All right. Well, Kishmas.
Poetry night was a dead end, wasn't it?
Well, I'm moving on. You've gone long enough, Kishmas. You got stuff wrote in here, and you just wrote a whole bunch of S's. Apparently, you're part Argonian.
Unfortunately.
There you go.
Well, I gotta go to a different window.
Is your push to talk S?
Oh, I'll bet you it is, because that's why he keeps going S, 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 S.
It's actually the Logitech for G4, but it's S, apparently.
Apparently so. All right, Kishmas, what'd you have this last
anyway,
2 weeks?
I mean, besides RPing with Neth, I've not really been active much. I've been mainly doing homestead stuff. You know, that's actually for the past month. That's why I've been doing. And occasionally, if someone wants to RP, I'll say, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I'm not sure who I even want to RP with anymore.
Yeah.
Basically, because things have changed so much in the community. Like, I don't know if I can even, play in this community anymore because, well, it's a change that I'm not comfortable with. But
yeah. That might be something we have to hit into next year, yeah.
Yeah.
When your community changes on you.
Yeah. I grew tired of people, how they run their shit. I mean, I was an officer for a year and a half. I saw how things were ran. I'm like, okay, this is fine. Then when you're not an officer, you're like, wow, this is shit. Like, they're running it like shit.
Yeah.
And, there's flaws. There are obvious flaws there in the system, but they don't acknowledge it, and they just choose to go with the flow.
Yeah.
It's kind of retarded.
Because it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
They disregard a lot of their own ideals, rules, and both IC and OOC. And that even pisses me even more off.
Yeah.
It pushed me away. It's pushing others away. And people want to have big time RP need to realize how insignificant they are. But everyone wants that attention.
Mm-hmm.
Want that attention.
It's one of the biggest flaws of a lot of, especially newer role players or younger. No, I can't even say that. Older, maybe maturity wise, younger. That they're always got to be the center of attention. It can't just play part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just find it hard to roleplay with anyone.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous how all of a sudden, Regier starts talking to someone, he gets ignored, goes in the next room. As soon as he goes into that room, everyone's silent, doesn't say a damn thing. So I leave, everyone starts talking again. It kind of makes you feel like shit.
Yeah.
That's irritating.
Yeah,
I know Regier is abrasive, but guess what? He's a lovable asshole. He's not just an asshole.
And it's all in character, not LOC.
Exactly. If they just think he's a straight asshole, then obviously they haven't taken the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I had that the other night. I was standing around and people were chatting all around me, and I tried to interact, but didn't get a ping off of anything I said. So I was like,
I think I know what it is, but I choose not to go with it publicly.
Yeah, well, maybe one of these days. We'll give it some time. So
some time, and if things happen, maybe I'll fucking name drop.
So on that note, if Kizdian tries to escape, are they still going to try to hunt me down and kill me?
No, you're not worth the effort.
I would doubt if they would even.
That'll be great then.
That's probably what they'll say.
I would be really surprised if they even noticed. So
short of a few of them, yeah.
So I'll do the whole transfer thing and then escape from my post, and you'll find me on the highway again with gold armor.
It's very shiny,
robber.
But yeah, I feel you, bud. Yeah, because I've had some of that too. I tried a little bit this week, and I got some hits and had some fun.
There's a lot of things I heard and saw that makes me say I told you so. Makes me want to say I told you so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're better than that. I mean, you're not. You're just not going to do it here.
Not anymore. Not anymore, at least. I'm not afraid to do it anymore. Just
Yeah, I feel you. It's one of those things. Communities do change over time, and the presence of both the groups, the guilds and the community at large. There can be subtle shifts as things go on, and largely it's mostly the egos that get in the way of it. Like we said in that one, ego is probably the biggest enemy to roleplay. That and not wanting to hurt people's feelings ever, and going along with stuff that you are completely disagree with, but you don't want to rock the boat. That's probably the second one. But
Like,
yeah.
Azura
Yeah.
said in the Twitch chat, I think it's the point that you got to go find people that you want to RP with, not people you need or are forced to RP with.
yeah, if there's only one person I want to RP with.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't be around all that often. There's just only so much time I have. Oh, you mean Neth?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Never mind, everybody. He meant someone else, not me.
And I have to throw this in. Wakachodo said, why bounty hunting is great RP? You have a captive audience.
But undunch.
Yeah, but Roger would make a horrible bounty hunter.
He
would make a horrible.
That was the joke.
Oh. Right.
So, yeah, well, hopefully things pick up for you, or you find another group,
Or make my own damn group.
Exactly.
That's another way to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Jazz, I would just ask you, who are you meaning? Who needs to keep close to their mic? Is it me or Kishmas?
Sib.
Oh, yeah. Sib, you need to keep closer to your mic.
Because when Sib moves away from her mic, then it echoes and I can hear her through yours. So
I'm like right up on it. There's
I had
nothing
the
you can
feedback
do.
thing going on a while ago.
It's
Put it in your
his mic.
throat. Throat it. Deep throat it. Yeah, I've got a new mic for those that are curious. I got a Blue Yeti, and so there's gonna be probably a little bit of reverb while I tweak the settings. It's one of those things that I have to.
Have you adjusted the top knob, which is the gain?
Yeah, I have. It's all the way down.
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
is too, but it still catches everything.
I
Yeah.
don't know what to do because I can't get any closer to the mic.
Oh, you can get closer. So much closer.
It's also kind of phallic too.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, she called it my. What'd you say is like a big dildo or something? Yeah. Shut up.
DVD.
Did.
She's a terrible person.
I am
So,
not.
Strafe.
Yeah.
What'd you do
Not
this
everyone.
last 2 weeks?
I just want to see how long you'd go. So
I just was waiting for you to find your push to talk button. I figured you were hunting.
had to tab out of the Star Wars Galaxy. In full
I
honesty,
knew it.
You bastard.
What'd you do?
so roleplay, I had a little bit this week. Rufus, speaking of people who don't want to rock the boat, I like to rock the boat. So Rufus returned to the Telvanni and got his crummy underling rank back. So he's nobody level 1. He's trying to get back to nobody level. And certain elements have left that guild, which makes it a lot more palatable and fun. So Rufus is back.
Cool.
Also, I had a complex RP with Anya coming back home to Trass Estate.
yeah, that was fun.
She'd found some stuff in her parents' stuff that went to her after they cleared the estate, which made her question, gave Anya a mystery to hunt down about her true parentage, and Trath was desperately trying to thwart her efforts to dig into that deeper by playing dumb. And then went
That was
around
good.
covering his bases to Kia, and then had to go back to Sully and say, you know that thing you made me promise not to tell? Well, you done blown it up. And here's how you did it.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Little interactions. Other than that, quiet week. Really busy after the Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. All right. What about you, Yunfei? I know you've had a lot of illness and stuff the last 2 weeks too, so I don't know if you had anything.
No, not really. I popped into Secret World for a little bit, but mostly I'm just running the dailies and then logging off. And I play Frostpunk. That's about it.
What's that?
Well, do you like Frozen Hell
What's that?
and starving children?
I think those are
What's
the
that?
survival game, isn't it?
It's a survival game, yeah. Basically, it's the last. You're the last city. The world's been overcome in snow and storms and.
I saw that documentary. That's that Snowpiercer with the ice train. I saw that. That was a good documentary. That's a really long train.
It's made by the same people that did This War of Mine, so it's extremely depressing.
What's that? You're naming off all these indie games. I have no idea.
I saw bits and pieces of that on Steam. I looked at it. It does look incredibly depressing. And while it does look really interesting because I love survival stuff, I hate zombies. So
yeah, you're done with the zombie thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
There's no zombies in it.
But it has the same kind of feel to it. I don't like scary shit. So
she doesn't do scary like anything. Like The Binding of Isaac would probably break her.
I've watched bits and pieces of it, and I don't like it. No,
see,
it's
told
too
you.
Gory. Yeah.
That's Yunfei's favorite grade because she's a psycho.
Well, Jazz, what about Plants vs. Zombies?
Too many plants.
Now, when I play Banished, I have to turn off all natural into the world stuff, everything, because otherwise it's too upsetting.
She is
Jazzy. Originally, you are not.
Somebody's mixing.
It's a one-person thing. Leave me alone. I want to relax.
She is a delicate flower.
No, I have
like a dandelion.
Yeah, then she has the thorns.
Not from the roleplay I've seen. Ain't no freaking.
That's the irony. This is a woman that can roleplay like evil characters and things like that, but you can't put her in front of like the house on Haunting Hill would probably break her.
Yeah.
It would break her mind, body, and spirit. She'd just be this huddled lump of.
I can't do that stuff, but I can be evil.
You can. It's great. You can write about it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Like if I wrote out those stories, you'd be like, "Oh, that was very interesting and quite."
I can read some pretty gory things, and they don't bother me. I can play out really gory,
but the actual visuals.
So to put it in perspective, The Sixth Sense, which is a very intense kind of psychological thriller.
Never heard of it.
Get out.
You have to, you big liar. You're the one that had me go see it.
That was before he got shitty at his movies, though, and then got good again.
So I saw that one, and it was very tense, but I didn't cover my eyes.
Well, yeah, but there also wasn't a lot of...
There was some...
There was like one or two jump scares, but it was even that. It was more of the... like the dead guy's like, ugh, he's just there,
Yeah, I don't mind that. And like, I had a trouble watching The Ghost Whisperer sometimes was a little on the scary side for me.
What?
Wait, is that a thing? Is that
what?
Like somebody that is like the dog whisperer, but for ghosts?
Yeah, it's a show called The Ghost Whisperer, and it can be really intense.
Do they actually talk back?
Yes.
Or do they just...
It's a drama. It's
I was going to say, or do they pretend to talk back?
No, it's a drama.
Oh, okay.
It's very...
I thought it was like Ghost
set up
Hunters.
a camera in the bathroom, and then some guy in the bed sheets just peeks out of the shower for...
No. But there's like dead people who look like when they died and things like that. It can be a little disturbing.
So
when it's like
you are such a baby.
So, Ashton, the new Haunting of Hill House would probably wreck her mind.
Oh, it would absolutely destroy her.
It would destroy
My
her.
husband tried to have me play, I think it was called Alice.
Oh, no,
Alice with him.
American McGee's Alice.
I got up and left after the first probably 5 minutes of the game. I was like, nope, goodbye. And I walked out, and he was like, baby, come on. Nope.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, you'd have made it about 3 seconds in that VR scare thing I put Sib in. At least she made it to the last 2 seconds, but that was like 3 minutes of hell for her.
That's pretty hardcore. I wouldn't even get in there.
It was... She, the curtain kept brushing her arm, and she's like, "It's touching me! It's touching me!" It's like, it's VR. It's not... There's no haptic suits. You're okay. You'll live. It's just the curtain. It's touching me! She took that off, and she was sweat. It was 3 minutes. Sweating and just dripping. It's like, wow.
That would have been thrown across the room.
Oh, yeah. But, let's see. Zib, did you... Oh, you're up and about. You there? I don't think you had anything except for before we kind of went offline. Maybe? I don't remember if you did or not.
I don't.
It's been 2 weeks, I know. That's why I don't expect you to remember, but I figured I had to ask.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, I pretty much went over the shit I did, so, which was, not a ton. Hopefully we'll have something coming up soon, and if it goes well, then I'll talk about it then, but for now, I'll sit on it and wait.
Yes, sit on it.
Yeah, sit on it and spin. It's more like it,
Who's
am I right?
cooking off the microwave in the background?
That would be our boy cooking off the microwave. He's
telling you,
heating up some
Tell him to make me
rolls.
some popcorn.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, my mic is picking up.
Hey, can you throw some pizza rolls in there for us? I'm just saying.
Yeah, thanks. Everyone can hear you, Tristan. Everyone. He likes
The whole world.
the boy can eat literally his weight in bread, like just by itself. He's like Rahanar in that sense. Only he does it because he can eat other things he chooses not to. Whereas with Rahanar, his stomach's weird. Yunfei,
Well,
his stomach's weird.
Just sort of go in the direction of Rahnar's face.
It's just like he's just like one of those like vacuum cleaner people.
My children. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're teenagers, yeah. So, all right, well, with that, let's go ahead and we'll hit our main topic as soon as we go ahead and hear the word from our sponsor, which I think is a pretty good one. It's everybody, we're coming on educational stuff and politics and things like that. Everyone wants free colleges, and I think this is a place that I think it could benefit from that. So let's go ahead and hear a word from our sponsor. "'Tis that time of year again, as the seasons change, and a chill air sweeps down from the north once more. A time of magic, of learning, of your letter arriving by the flying lemur for Pig Boyle's Community College of Witchcraft and Wizardry. For those that wish to be a proper magical education, whenever you can get around to it. Here at Pig Boyle's Community College of Witchcraft and Wizardry, our 3 to 10 year course and electives will have you wielding magic and a moderately successful rate in no time at all. Our completely adequate facilities will teach you the basics of magic theorem and have you apparating in no time, with a 94% success rate 67% of the time. Want to work with magical beasts? Those are very popular these days, but largely only make half as much money as the real installments. We have many of the okayest of creatures for you to learn and study. Everything from chupacabras to the meanest of magical creatures, Canadian geese. Or is catching dark wizards your interest? How about being an auror? We can teach you magical laws of the land and have you working as assistant clerk in the auror office, post-haste. Pig Boyle's Community College of Witchcraft and Wizardry is priced competitively, and our almost competent staff will give you all the information you need with as few extraneous and wasted classes as we can expect. Hogwarts might have moving staircases, but Pig Boyle has sliding requirements. You never know what classes you'll need to graduate, and neither do we. So, look for your flying lemur soon, and join us at Pig Boyle's Community College of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Come and see me, your headmaster, Phineas T. Flatbottom J. Portbelly Esquire the 15th and a half. We'll be waiting for you. Well, college is always an option. And, that one sounds like it's a moderate option.
You know, halfway through, I was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, Hogwarts pig boil." Man, I'm slow tonight.
Self-admission, sadness. Kishmas is losing it.
I'm trying to think of some way to make fun of him, but really what he just said pretty much covers it.
You're welcome. I'm just saving your breath, man.
Oh, it hurts. Oh, that hurt. But, all right, yes. Pig Boyle's Community College of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Give it a try. Look for your flying lemur. You never know. So, with that, we'll go ahead and go into our main topic, which is part of a three-part thing. What?
Were you just itching?
No, I was kind of rubbing my hands together. Could you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well. Kazam! Yeah, it didn't work.
Dibs, we call that scheming.
Yeah, I'm scheming.
Oh, I can't see him.
Mostly I'm just warming up my hands. All right. Well, real quick, too, if you guys want to call in, if those listening to it, you got something to say on Magic and how it works in games and RP and things like that, RPMMORadio.com/Discord. If you're in our Discord server, you can just jump into the caller waiting room where Rahanar will be sleeping by to take your call. He falls asleep very easily. He's very bored. He gets very bored. You and Faye, is he awake?
Sort of, yeah.
All right, good enough. All right. So we're going to go into Magic for this month of December because nothing says...
Magic like the holidays.
Right. Thank you. That was... Where's go? Oh, wait. What's Rahanar doing in here? Rahanar.
Speaking of Rahanar...
Are you
I'm
awake?
awake. You're just boring.
I really, really hate that guy.
I believe that's box-worthy treatment in that talk in that office down the hall, and,
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
You're assuming he's going to get an office. All right.
Ooh, dang.
So, 3 parts. We're actually going to we've only got 3 episodes left this year, and we're going to focus on Magic for all 3 of them. Today we're going to mostly go over the basics of like the theories and how Magic functions, and it changes game to game and through various sources of books and like movies and different universes all do it a little differently, but there's connecting threads and factors to all that it's all based off of. So we're going to kind of hit on that to give a working idea of kind of where we're coming from and understand too. This is just how we see it, and it's even not how we all see it. As we're going to go over with what some things Jazz has, it's similar but different. That there's multiple ways that you can get this stuff to work, and the way you can look at it. This is how I've done it, and I think this, for anybody that actually has given it thought, you probably will come into similar things.
You're an ass.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. How many people? How many role players actually do you think give they cast the spell? But how do you think that they actually how would that work if that was a real life thing?
Well, I think a lot of people do.
I think less.
I correlated my list off of existing lists, you ass.
Well, just because it's an existing list from one other nerd like you and me doesn't mean all the other people we're role playing with have done it.
It was like from devs and games talking about how Magic works in their world.
So there's 2 different camps, right? There's the uber nerds that will think about the incantations, all the stuff, reagents, the crap they need. Then there's the other side of the nerd,
I cast magic missile
right?
at the darkness.
Fireball, bitches, right. And that's kind of how it goes. Jazzy is the detail nerd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I am too. But some of the details might differ. And that's okay. We'll go over that as well. What happens when 2 versions of Magic collide? Turns out it can actually be roleplay and have an interesting conversation instead of taking it OOC and being all butthurt about it.
Yeah, and it's also important that mine, at least how I do it, can be shifted per game. Mm-hmm. I just have a general idea for myself for my writing, how I look at it for my writing, which is why I included it, because it's not necessarily how I look at it here if the lore contradicts what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Exactly. And there's...
Because I'm a nerd.
And there's different theories of how magic works, which basically magic is like anything else. It's an energy. how potions work, various ways. We're going to go over summoning, healing, conjuration, divination, evocation, masturbation, all of the best Asians.
Man,
we're going to hit all of them.
Long show.
That's my main skill.
Divination? Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Nancy.
Going right over that one.
No, totally serious.
No, I was talking about Kishmas. What'd you say? I didn't hear what you had said. What?
She has nothing to say now.
I really didn't hear what you had said because I was yammering on.
You scared her, bro.
That's what I do.
She's now hiding.
So, all right. Well, first things first. How is magic often thought to work? For the most part, and I see in him right there, Jazz. I'm 80% of people. Just saying. That's how it just works. It's magic. Magic is magic. That's how it works.
It just works.
See? Like that. Like his smartphone. It just works. He doesn't know how that works. It's a thing that he pushes buttons on.
I did the thing.
Bleep, bleep, bleep. Wow, I can 4K photos now.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, first thing is, obviously, in the game and the world you're playing in, there has to be magic. It's not like our world where, I don't know about you, but I can't levitate anything. I mean, other than escaping gas, but that kind of does its own thing based on science. Not anything I actually do.
Image.
Hey, Taco Bell is delicious but dangerous at the same time. Just putting that out there. So
side effects may include
gaseous explosions and rotting innards. But yeah, so there has to be the magic in the world, and really what you should think of magic like is an energy that it can be manipulated. It's kind of like electricity, but a little less kill you if you act stupid around it instantly. Although magic will kill you if you act stupid around it instantly too.
Not like the Force.
Exactly. Well, like even the Force, you can't do much with it without the training, and it binds us, penetrates us like duct tape.
Gets ladies pregnant.
Like duct tape. Yeah, that was we don't.
That's a Force power I'd like to learn.
We don't talk about that, Yunfei. We don't talk about the Immaculate Conception Force. That was. Besides that, it was Darth Plagueis that actually did that. If you go into the books and
have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No, and nobody ever should. All right, so let me get through this real quick so we can actually get on with what we're talking about.
Right, magic.
Right, magic. It's energy that can be manipulated with the mind or other mechanical means, like crystals, wands, staves, amulet, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much all MMOs have magic, unless you're like in a sci-fi one like The Matrix or something, which doesn't exist. But almost every fantasy one of some kind has a magic of various strengths and of power. They're not all magic is created equal. Some kind of get way out there in what you can do with powerful things like EverQuest or WoW or ESO. I mean, if you've watched any of the cinematics on those games or like the actual skills that you can use, they're pretty strong. And others are a lot more subdued, like the Lord of the Rings, which, Lord of the Rings is, even in the books, the wizards, how rare were they? And really, Gandalf didn't do a whole lot ever. He's just lazy. Just rode around a bunch.
Yeah, he was more like a steward, but he had abilities, he didn't really use them.
Right, which also goes into the use of magic in various worlds. It's not all the same, but Lord of the Rings is definitely rare. Most games, magic is very upfront and in your face.
I also kind of like that Lord of the Rings magic most, to be honest.
Yeah, a coolest thing he did, that cloud break when he ran the Nazgul off, or he's doing the wizard's duel with Sauron. That was pretty cool.
My favorite was the fireworks. But I'm a pyro, so what do I know? I mean, he made
gunpowder, you noob.
Yeah, but in the book or in the movie, he made that firework dragon.
That is true. I got to give you that.
And it was cool looking. It was a good effect. You know what it was? It was a better Phoenix effect than the fucking Phoenix movie of X-Men 3. So, oh yeah, because they didn't have one. Fucking X-Men.
They did not.
So, yeah. So first off, you have to have magic. You got to think of it like an energy. Yeah. Kind of like the amount of energy and force it would take for somebody to keep slamming their keys over and over, Jazz.
I'm not. I'm typing to someone. Leave me alone.
I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it.
Trying not to. Like, imagine if I had a mechanical keyboard. It'd be really loud.
I know those. You'd just be pounding away at it.
I need to get a keyboard muter so that it just like hangs over my keyboard.
The keyboard's not the problem. See, I have a mechanical keyboard. It's the
I did too.
You have anger issues. We didn't want to tell you.
Let me see. Hold on. Let's see if I can. Yeah, no,
I can barely hear you. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's because of where my mic is placed.
If your mic is in front of or directly above, that's probably why it's picking up.
It is.
That would be your problem.
Because it has to be for me to, because it's sitting at my desk. So I suppose if I put a thing over where I was typing, because I don't need to see my keys.
Is it because you're a fast typer?
I'm a touch typer, you ass. I wasn't going to say that.
Anything to throw.
She had to take the bait.
I just don't think I can hit him right now.
No.
Yeah, please do.
She can't. You better not throw anything. Pull something. All right. So, obviously, first things first, magic has to be in the world. To do that, to actually use the magic, one of the most important things, other than magic existing, is will, like your willpower. Will is one of the most important things that you can use in magic. It's far as every books and all those things I read, will is always the first and foremost of things to actually manipulate it.
Sometimes it's called focus or will or something else, but it's essentially the same thing. Yeah,
exactly. It's just it's all comes from your mind and your ability to, think it into existence. Often, like I said, it's will and the intent of the mind that forges the raw magical energy into something, be that an elemental power, healing, divine, which is faith magic, it's just another form of energy in a lot of ways, dark magic. All forms only happen because the will and the intent actually molds and forms it. One of my favorite things, and I'm going to bring it up here a few times, is the Dresden Files, because they go in depth on how Harry Dresden uses his magic, and Jim Butcher put a lot of thought into the way magic actually works in that world and how it's manipulated and done. And it's kind of a way I've always borrowed from in a lot of ways. But the other, after will, you've got magic words. Everybody knows Alakazam, Shazam, which is actually not looking like a terrible movie, but we'll wait and see. I mean, it's no Shaquille O'Neal.
Look pretty good. It does look pretty good. It really does.
It does.
And I was like, oh my god! I rolled my eyes totally. But
oh yeah, I did. But after I got through the trailer and then I watched it again, I was like, It looks better than a lot of the other ones they've come out with, other than Aquaman.
Or the old favorite, Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Open Sesame.
Abracadabra. It's better when Bugs Bunny does it, I'm just saying.
Abracadabra. What's the Open Sesame? There's another old one. No, nobody really knows what that means. Hocus Pocus. Which, why have they tried to make that movie so popular? I don't get it, but okay.
I love that movie. It is hilarious.
See, I mean, it was okay for its time,
the
but
witches look like chipmunks.
They're supposed to. That was why it was funny.
Yeah, well, the one, and there's the blonde one looks like a horse. I don't know what's going on there. How they got BoJack Horseman's wife in there? Oh, is that what that is? Oh, okay.
Ashen is the 90s. What do you expect?
I know. The same year same decade they made Spawn.
Hey, man. I don't really care. I'm just pointing it out.
All right. So, magic words. A few worlds, it's the words itself that actually have, like, the power. But in most, it's actually the intent of the words that are implied that actually cause the molding of the energy to do what you want.
Yeah.
Because
it's like wands and stuff in many worlds, words and wands and things like that just work as a focus.
Yeah, it's like a focus. Yeah.
You got to activate it. So, when He-Man holds the sword up, says by the power of Grayskull, he gets his abilities, right?
Yeah.
Deal with the magic.
Exactly. It's like
but the sword isn't what's magic, it's his will, and the sword helps
his will unlocks the power in the sword, and So here's how this is how I've always considered like magic words working, and this is kind of how the Dresden Files did it as well. Because you're in your head, you've always grown up fire. You know what fire is. It's that hot burny thing that you touched when you were a kid because you didn't listen to grandma when she said the stove was hot because there was fire on it, and you're stupid and you had to test that while making popcorn. Just as a made up example.
It's the hey, you told me not to touch it, so now I totally gotta touch it.
Exactly.
That's a disorder too, though. It's like ODD or something.
Yeah, oppositional defiant disorder.
I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds stupid. I would never have that. So
because we're smart.
But yeah, so you know what fire is. You know what ice is. You know earth. You know what all your elements are. If you're over the age of 2. But so saying ice for example, saying ice in another language, you know what ice is. You won't get fire. You're thinking ice, in the other language even, or in your language, ice is ice. So if you're trying to cast fire by using the word ice, it's so ingrained in your synapses of your brain, you're not going to be able to create it because the connections just aren't there to do that. From the Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, the wizards in that actually use other languages for the magical spells because it gives them a small separation in their headspace from their known language versus what they're actually saying. They know it means the same thing, and that's the activation word for the spells and to bring it into being, but it's different enough that it doesn't, burn their brain. For example, if they cast a fire spell using English in that world, the word fire is so connected to actual fire, it literally, the energy creating the fire will burn through their mind and could actually cause significant damage. So in this example, Dresden uses the word fuego. In this world too, every wizard actually can make up their own words. Like he just uses that because, I don't know, it sounds good. But it separates the fire conjuring spell just enough that it protects the mind from the power as it's channeled through him. It's not so much the word itself as much it is the will and the thought of it that creates the magic. And that's kind of how I've at least with the magic words, and a lot of times in like ESO, for example, you just, you want to do a fire spell, it just kind of comes out. It's just a mental command in a lot of ways. You really don't say the words, you don't do anything like that. It just happens. But I think that's just a force of will.
Well, in AOC, one of the things that I found really interesting about the lore in the old books and in the game as well.
Age of Conan, for those not available. Not
Age of Conan.
You're all right.
Age of Conan. The guy that wrote those books was actually quite an interesting person. And one of the things that he did in his world was that the language of magic had its own language. And the language itself was alive. So if you spoke the words and you had to learn the words, the words created magic. But if the person who wasn't trained tried to read or speak the language, they would go insane because the words would get in their brain and they wouldn't understand it, and it would take over their brain and basically melt their brains.
They'd go crazy. Yeah, they'd go crazy with it. It'd burn their brain out.
It'd be like swallowing some worms. It's the same basic concept.
Red River brainworms.
Yeah, basically. And I found that really interesting.
Red River brainworms.
I had to go when I was doing because I'm a nerd. Before I played the game, I went and I read the books because I had never read them other than a couple.
I listened to them on audiobook. Yeah, I did the same thing.
But I went and read them, and I was horrified. First, terrible.
They were in like the 1920s and 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible. But it was still very interesting, and I found it fascinating, and it made my roleplay even more fun, I think, because I understood the books and where they came from and stuff. But yeah, everything like that can be really interesting to learn.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and like I said, this all it's going to vary from roleplay to roleplay, game to game, things like that. This is just sort of just get you thinking on this kind of stuff. But that's part of what causes wizards to have to train is it's not just the book learning and learning that can take a long time to memorize stuff, but it doesn't take some of them are doing for decades and decades, and it's not just so much memorization as it is I think like with Lord of the Rings with Gandalf, it's how they train their mind to work. They're training their will. They're focusing, like Strophe, like you said, with the focus. They're focusing their mind and their will so that it works a certain way and that it can pass through them and do what they want to do, and not try to just fart out there into the universe. Kind of like trying to get,
right.
It's the difference between building, a laser and having that beam go straight and then burn a hole through, solid titanium versus, what was that Tesla thing? The little coil that just like randomly shoots electricity out in every direction, whatever it wants. They're both using energy, but one focuses it in a far more intense and concentrated way than the other one, which just lets it, out in the universe.
One will blow up a planet, the other one will blow yourself up.
Yeah, unless you're in a Faraday cage. So that's one of those, with the wizardry thing, that's why for me, I've always liked the idea of, they're doing memorization, but really it's they're training their mind, which is why it's so frustrating when you role play with a wizard that's like just butt stupid. I mean, I think we know what people we've come across,
people
like,
who are like,
I'm a powerful wizard, but I'm very easily offended and very sensitive, and I will get angry at the drop of a hat, and then and then my power will blow out unleashed. It's like, well, you're like 300 years old and you've been doing this for 200 years, and yet somebody, you stub your toe in the middle of the night trying to get to the bathroom and like you explode. I think you'd have better control of that by now, buddy. But it's just me. I think a lot of that kind of goes with they're going the like the Goku, like, I'm so powerful, my power can't be contained. But that has to be, there's got to be consequences for stuff like that too.
There's an amazing number of role players that have gotten that nonsense from that
anime
place, I think.
Yeah.
Because they RP just like that. The whole, rawr, my power cannot be controlled. I am a god in this universe, and I will. Yeah, stop. Just, oh my god.
Yeah, see, and I've got something like that with Tarvala, and it's never happened in the game. It's only happened, I think, twice now. In her, it's not something that happens every time. It's always in a insanely, like, literally like a split second from being killed, like, kind of thing. The very first time was, as I was creating her, and they got ambushed, and her first love was shot in the throat, and they got ambushed by a bunch of Ashlanders, and she took the sword, and it's, it didn't so much explode in energy and kill everyone around it, so much as it just kind of took control and moved for her. And she was able to slaughter and kill everybody there. And she doesn't even really remember exactly how. She remembers it now, but she's still not really told anybody,
But the sentient sword taking control of the wielder.
Exactly.
How I've heard that story before.
Exactly.
Really sad.
Well, and you have to consider that RP, you're only as powerful as people will allow you to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you put that in your story, write it all out.
You're cutting out real bad, hon. You got to speak up or something.
You guys are
I'm like speaking. Yeah, I keep hearing myself really bad on your mic.
Just go ahead and talk, because if you're not going to talk loud enough, it's not going to come through at all. So just talk. Don't worry. I'll worry about it later.
No, I just was saying to be that all-powerful wizard, People have to respect you and give you that power. You can't just say, this is how it is. This is how I want it to be. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
RP.
Which is why it's never happened around other players. It's always been a backstory thing. It's happened, and maybe it can happen again if there's ever a situation in roleplay that could call for it, but that's going to be pretty rare. And so far, it hasn't happened in, 2 years now? So, but that's the thing. There has to be give and take in these things. Something, was it Indigo Jules had posted? Let me see if I can find it. I'd actually never heard of it before, but she called it, she threw it out there because she liked it. Sanderson's Laws of Magic, which I don't know who Sanderson is, but but it's somebody that wrote, kind of similar to what we had, where they just gave like ideas for it, and one of them is limitations, are greater than power for magic. There's got to be limits. There also has to be weaknesses and costs for using it. And if you don't have that, then it's, which is really easy for role players and writers to do, just because it's magic. It's magic.
One of the good consequences is like a cleric only being able to memorize 3 of a certain spell per day, because it will take everything out of them to cast those 3 spells per day.
Yeah,
so
but the D&D way of doing it.
Well, yeah, that's the D&D way of doing it, but that will reflect the cost of doing something like that.
Or that they just run out of, there's only so much magical power they can draw through their body safely, or whatever it is, that it'll start to, if they do a lot of fire magic, perhaps, that it'll start to burn them. Or, Elder Scrolls, it's kind of limited, supposed to be limited by the amount of mana you have, but they also have potions and stuff for that, so doesn't work as well. But then again, a lot of the fire spells and electric spells really aren't insanely powerful either, at least in the roleplay I've had. They're not bad, but you can also survive some of them. The NPCs and things like that, it often takes several hits to knock them down, so it's not an insta-kill. And magic never should be a sort of an instant, it's not an instant win button. It really isn't.
Some of those spells are a little more entertaining in the single-player versions of those Elder Scroll games. I think they had to balance it for what we had in MMO.
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
no, it's true, because even the first level ones, it's like a small damage over time instead of this big giant blast of lightning.
Yeah, exactly. So, anybody else have any ideas on magic words on that?
I've never really...
Or ever thought of it?
Always something cool, and this is going back to Neverwinter Nights before the MMO, when it was like a top-down single-player game.
Oh, yeah.
Like the NPCs, when they cast stuff, you could hear them casting some kind of crazy language. It was like an arcane language. That was always kind of cool.
That's kind of neat. Yeah, you
could kind of tell they were doing something in the room.
Also, Futroda.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, but only you roleplay that.
Only I do.
That's right. Only you. Nobody else. Nobody else.
You're going to be owning that one.
Hey, they allowed me to do it.
That is true. They did.
I've always been a fan of the magical language bit, so...
Yeah, was that more? Did that come more after you had read on the Conan universe?
Oh no, I didn't mean that kind of magical.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like like what did somebody say that they had to stop speaking Latin because people kept accidentally summoning demons. I always thought that was kind of funny.
Fisto.
Because we use in fantasy and stuff, we often use Latin. Because it sounds cool.
Yeah, it always sounds neat.
Right, and so I do like in EQ2. We used a really old version. We used Latin actually. I think we did. I think it was Latin in some of the. We figured out they were Jason told me they were talking in Latin. One of the mages was casting something and making. You could see his letters, you could see him talking, and Jason's like, that's Latin. I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So they didn't even make it up. They just use Latin. But a lot of times that's how it works, is they use Latin.
Yeah, the old, the Disney Gargoyles cartoon back in the late 90s, all their magic stuff, it was all Latin-based. It was just
I was going to say, guys,
translations of Latin.
Lorem Ipsum is a fun thing to play with.
So I mean, like in EQ, I have them using like Nedic and or Chimer languages.
Dwemer.
Chimer.
Wait,
Dwemer.
EQ2? Excuse me. What?
No, in ESO.
ESO.
Okay,
Okay.
ESO. Roger that.
Yeah, in ESO, using what I would think of as those languages for magic is probably pretty common.
Yeah,
Since you think about
honestly.
the people that probably used magic the most were in that time frame, so they just kept the words
Yeah.
in modern time.
Yeah, but the only official languages of like elves is the Altmeri and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that have made rough translations of it.
Yes, it is.
Fuck off.
Don't be mad because your golden hue dimmed. Going out to the side of the world, doing your skullduggery with the Daedra.
P-Elf. Azure Relay in the chat said, I think what is unique about Elder Scrolls is that each spell is sort of universal, but the spellcaster is more unique. Each person casts a spell differently than the next, which that's another, again, that's just another
That's
way
true.
magic kind of can work. That's the thing. There's so many different variables on this. I couldn't think of them all, but that's a very good point that, you know, there's just like people have different strengths, you know, so all of us in here can probably bench press different amounts. We all have, you know, different strengths, but, you know, with magic ability, some people are just more powerful than others and able to focus better or channel better or worse. You know, that's one of those things with like my Tarvala. She can't focus and channel healing or ice magic at all. She's, you know, an ice cube and she can, you know, heal a paper cut maybe, and even then it's still going to sting if you got lemon juice on it. But it's just not something she's good at. That was kind of the give and take of consequences, that she's good at some things, but I didn't want her to go, you know, be able to do everything because it's boring. It's more fun kind of when someone's like, hey, we need ice spells up here, and she's like, oh, I'm out. Somebody else take my spot, you know.
Nobody likes that Omni-class guy, I'm just going to say.
Yeah, and there's far too many people.
Except for the Omni-class guy. He loves it.
Yeah. There's always that person that has to know everything. They are a master of everything, and that's always annoying.
Yeah. All right. Well, so moving on from magic words, this is ritual magic. This is actually, I wish I meant to pull up that thing you had posted about the ants, Jazz. See if you can find that while I go over that, because that was.
What am I looking up?
The ants summoning humans thing that you had posted on Facebook.
Oh God, yeah.
See if you can find that real quick while I go over this. So ritual magic. With ritual magic, it also uses words, but the words themselves are the power. And I know, didn't you just say, yes, but a ritual is often calling to a greater force in another language or tongue, and these forces have requirements that need to be met. If the words aren't exact, perhaps they won't hear it, or the magic itself is tied to those specific words and phrases, so it won't activate, you know, the Strafes by the power of Grayskull, you know, kind of thing. That's probably the, you know, the code word to unlock the yes. Magic in Castle Grayskull and in the sword, which I think it's the power of the Castle Grayskull that grants him the He-Man thing. That's how I've always understood it, because it's by the power of Grayskull, not the sword. So, and that makes him all, you know, slightly more beefy, and also takes away most of his clothes. Misogyny.
And gives his pet cat, you know, giant size.
Yeah, it makes him go from a coward to being very brave.
That's Battle Cat, son.
So if you screw that up, you know, if you fuck everything up and nothing happens, if you do the rituals wrong, you know, nothing will happen, or worse.
It's like Evil Dead when Ash is in the graveyard and he's got the book and he's supposed to say the right key phrase to unlock the curse of the book so he can carry out of there with no harm, and he forgets the words, so he kind of just, you know, flubs the last word, and then he causes a huge curse.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's so if you either nothing will happen, or like if it was, you know, the thing was supposed to unbind it or you know, tie it to your will, and you jacked it up, then it gets loose, which, you know, or in that case creates an entirely different curse in 3 movies, and what I hear is actually a pretty good television series, but I've not actually watched it yet. I don't know. So that's kind of the way I've ritual. It's magic words, you know. That's more of the getting it out there, and the ritual magic seems to always be for me. You know, every time you see a ritual going on, they're always sacrificing something or calling something up or trying to appease another creature. It's never really so much just casting a spell or anything like that. That, you know, like just an everyday spell. All right, thanks you, Jazz, for finding that.
You're welcome.
So, what made me think of this was I don't know what this was from, but she had found something and she posted, and it said, if Cthulhu could be summoned by humans who are so far beneath it, why can't humans be summoned by ants? This answer is they should be. And someone replied to that, well, if a bunch of ants formed a circle in my house, I'd certainly notice. Try to figure out where they all come from and possibly wreak destruction there. And the other person said, that's why knowing and correctly pronouncing the true name is so important to the ritual. Imagine how impossible it would be not to take a look at the circle of ants that started chanting your name. And they are like, you can't leave because we drew a line in the circle of tiny crystals, and now you have to do us a favor. And you're like, well, let's see where this goes. Yep, you got me. What's the favor? And usually the favor's like, kill this one ant for us, or give me a pile of sugar. And you're like, sure, okay. What do you do? Because why not? You know, it's hard for you, and, you know, a boy is just going to be the fucking storytelling, and these fucking ants are chanting your name and wanting a spoonful of sugar. So, as you being this great, powerful creature bigger than ants, you humor them. And it's actually not a bad way to kind of go over how, like, summoning and rituals might work. Because, I mean, if I got a whole bunch of ants in a circle in my living room and I start hearing my name coming from them, I'm sure as hell going to check it out. I don't know if I'm so much better. So maybe a greater, powerful, godlike being, a whole bunch of people start doing it, and they start chanting their name like, huh, what's going on in the living room?
Will that be before or after you hose them down on the raid?
Well, I mean, that's going to happen regardless. I might appease them, but the raid's coming out.
There will be a blood price, ants.
And they will call me Mike Cthulhu. Mike Cthulhu? I don't know. But thank you for finding that, Jez. I thought that when you posted that, I was like, that's actually pretty clever. So one of the last things I have on here for like the way you can work on magic is somatic, which is this is the waving your arms and doing all kinds of just the physical gestures. You know, this is the like the was that Doctor Strange? You know how they have to do all those hand gestures. That's how they manipulated the energies and things like that. I mean, yes, it was through their mind and stuff as well, but there was obviously a component to how they had to have their hands in certain ways and do that kind of thing. So that also for some reason helped do that. Was it Naruto when they do their hand gestures for the ninjutsus? That's another one that does that a lot. What's that?
The show The Magicians on Netflix.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, that one uses it. My daughter's watched that. I watched the first season. I don't think I started the other one. I was curious. Wasn't terrible, but it wasn't terribly good either. The acting is all right. It's a little iffy. It's all right. So yeah, and honestly, I couldn't really come up with a logical way why the hand gestures would work.
I just think it all comes down to focus.
Is it just another way of focus?
Yeah, it's just another way, in my opinion. No matter what, it all comes down to focus. All those are different ways to focus your energy, and then use that energy you've channeled by focusing on it.
No, I can go with that. Yeah, that makes sense. I could go. It's just another, instead of using a magic word, it's the same thing, but it's through a hand gesture.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I can go with that. That makes more sense. I looked at that one, I'm like, I know it's a thing, but I just don't know. Couldn't really put it together. I was also doing this over several days with very little sleep, and I was tired. So that's those are the different ways that we kind of have that you can actually access the magic. So once you're able to do that, what are the different, most used types of magic? A lot of these come from, originally I think they're D&D based, and then EverQuest took them, and then Elder Scrolls also uses them, and basically a lot of things that use magic use these. They're the alteration, abjuration, conjuration, divocation, and divination. A lot of Asians.
Don't forget restoration,
evocation, and yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like restoration, that's an Elder Scrolls thing, but really,
they've also used that term in other games.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, but it's because it's an easy way of saying healer. I think that's really more of a this is what heals things. But in a lot of ways, I always thought of the healing. If you're not going to be cheap, it'd be conjuration, because you're literally conjuring and forcing the skin and all those tissues. You're regrowing. You're creating. You're conjuring the skin and tissue back to where it used to be and healing them. That's kind of the way conjuration's always worked in my mind. Again, remember, this is just kind of how I put it together, and it doesn't take into things like you said. Was it like Elder Scrolls? They also have destruction and what was the healing one that you just said? I've already forgotten it. Restoration. There you go. But
there's mysticism. They got all kinds of crazy schools.
Exactly, and and you can get that with just about anything. Like they're all gonna have variations on the theme, but. We'll go ahead. We'll go through these, and you guys tell me if really almost everything else doesn't fall into one of these 5 categories. Counting. And if not, we can discuss that. So the first one we have here is abjuration, and this is a type of magic that tends to focus on protections. So things like wards and dispelling magic, shields magics that will shield you from both magical and physical damage, things like that. In this game sense, this is the support class. It's like the support class of magic. And after that, you have the alteration. It kind of does as it implies. It alters things in the subject. It can boost strength, speed, stamina, increasing perceptions, alter the state or increasing it beyond its normal means, or channeling it into something that it wasn't originally. For example, life into a dead body, like for necromancy. It alters the state of being. Then there is conjuration, creating something out of nothing. In the old EverQuest days, conjuration was what you used to summon food and drink. And like Elder Scrolls, the people was that that dagger that you can summon for the is it the Dark Brotherhood to let you kill people with that summon dagger thingy?
Not sure.
That's an ESO thing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
You join the Dark Brotherhood, you use whatever weapons you want.
Yeah, but there's summoned weapons are kind of there's plenty of.
That's a conjuration skill.
It's conjuration. Yeah, exactly. And there's lots of.
Yeah, you're right. It's conjure weapon, conjure armor. It's all crazy stuff.
It's and this is why I say that the restoration and healing would actually fall under conjuration in most forms, because in most games and books,
part is
you use
when the
magic.
Conjuration spells wears off, then that arm wears off. So
that's the thing. That's where your body's natural healing, will take over as well, and once it wears off, your body will have already healed its ways into it. That's just one way of looking at it.
Way to look at it.
Yeah, but it's kind of like you could also think of it. It doesn't matter if it wears off, because once your skin is there, they're just regrew the tissue that you already have part of you. They accelerated your healing process. So once it wears off, your body is already healed. It's already got that spot there.
That's why they call it restoration magic.
Exactly. Well, again, and you're talking about Elder Scrolls. I'm talking about all things.
Oh yes, fine. Sorry.
So,
no, I mean a lot of worlds discuss healing as restorative magics.
Yeah,
so,
and it Okay, so let me finish these real quick, and then we could hit that.
Okay.
Divination focuses on gathering information. I mean, divination. Rather, it's happening currently. Scrying would fall under this, or trying to see in the future or possible outcomes of events. You know, divination is divination. It's pretty self-evident. You know, it's the Professor Trelawney of kind of magic. And lastly is the one that I think most use is evocation, especially in roleplay. I think this is the one a lot of us use the most, is because evocation is the creation and manipulation of magics into things like fire and ice and lightning. It tends to be destructive in nature, you know, maybe like a destructive magic, for example. But for me, all of them sort of fall under one of these other things. You know, you can get into semantics, and we will, because it would be a boring show if we didn't. But that tends to be where a lot of most magic seems to fall under one of these five. Now, you can make an argument for like the conjuration and restoration stuff being separate, but you're kind of splitting hairs at that point too, because in the end you are doing the same thing.
What about alchemy?
Alchemy, that's a kind of a different one. I wasn't sure. I thought of alchemy, but I was actually going to do that when we hit neutral.
That's not really.
Yeah, because that's more of a.
Science.
Oh,
Yeah.
and enchanting.
Yeah, enchanting. See,
Yeah,
well, for enchanting, that seems to be like it's a different thing though. It basically what you're doing is pushing a magic into something so that it will do a thing that you want to do it without having to cast the spell all the time.
So it's pretty much all of them in a different way.
It'd just be whatever one, you know, like if you're it'd be like if you're making a necklace that will create a ward around you, you're basically using abjuration, but you're pushing it into an item so that it will do that whenever you want at all times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, but I mean, it's its own skill. Like these you guys are kind of getting into skills. I'm just going over these for me again, just me. The 5 types of the way magic is manipulated. Now you can use it for like healing. Healing is a version of it's like a doctor. You know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healer. I can heal, but I'm not a healer. That kind of thing. Am I making sense, or am I just talking out my ass?
No, you're making sense. I mean, mysticism is more like a shaman's kind of magic, or dreams, or foresight, and you know,
divination
is like summoning stuff. Divination. Go ahead, Kishman. Sorry.
One of the weakest arguments I've heard from one of my buddies when we were just playing Elder Scrolls for fun is like, "Oh, mysticism is just some place that Bethesda put the spells that don't belong in any category." I'm like, "No, that's dumb. You're dumb."
Yeah, well, like in mysticism, I'm not sure how would you define mysticism. Let's see if we could fit that into one of these 5.
Like talking to animals, talking to the dead.
I'm gonna look that up for you.
Yeah.
Well, I played a mystic in EQ2. I played the Defiler.
Yeah, and don't they?
I guess it's kind of the dark side of the mystic,
right?
Like in the lore, that was one of the major things that they did was they could communicate with animals, they could communicate with spirits and the dead.
Yeah.
Ready?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. What have you found?
This is the Elder Scrolls Wiki. The school of mysticism, or the old way, can unravel the mysteries of the universe. If properly applied, it can also tell one what is around the next corner, lying in wait for an helpless adventurer by wandering by. Mysticism is one of the oldest and least understood schools of magic. It was first developed by the Sidic Order long before there was a name for it.
Yeah. So
it's kind of the beginning. It's not really understood.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's got, you know, some divination in there. But the talking to animals one, that's actually kind of that's really more of like a telepathy or a telepathy or empathy.
Yeah, D&D calls it animal empathy.
Right. Which, let's see. Because I actually have a thing in here, because, you know, telepathy is a thing as well. There's magic spells for telepathy. There's things like that as well. So I don't know. Maybe alteration because you're at least altering the mind enough that you could communicate back and forth with it. I'm not sure. See, this is why we want to do the magic thing, because there's a lot you can go off of. Kind of come up with it on its own.
Everybody kind of translates it a little bit differently.
Right, exactly. I'm just, and we're just trying to figure it out and just have a conversation on it. Yeah, it's hard to say with, like, because, what you can make up. I was looking through, looked at a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of classes and stuff, but the powers kind of combine, and there's nothing wrong with combining two separate things. Like, if you combined conjuration, say, and divination at the same time, so that you can, see, maybe you could see where you need to heal next. I don't know. But there's different ways to go about it. At least you just got to kind of be creative and open-minded. Unless, you're telling me I'm wrong, and then you're wrong. You're wrong.
Your face is wrong.
Your face is wrong. What are you laughing at over there, Sib?
Nothing.
Yeah, you better not be. Come over there. So, all right. Well, let's see here. So those were the 5 that I come up with. There might actually be a couple more, I suppose. It's just there was a laundry list of some of them, but some of them that I was looking up, it was really like they were getting out into the weeds. It's like, that's not really, you're being more specific on a skill, not a type of magic.
There's also game universe specific spells.
Right. Yeah.
Like Thuum, sword singing, that is equated to Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, well, like in the Thuum, like it does various things. It could do that force, which that would be evocation, because it's just a wall of basically pushing air.
Yeah.
It's been forever since I've played Skyrim. What other things can the Thuum do? Because it's basically just a version of magic, as far as I can tell.
It's just a version of magic used by dragons. It basically can do anything, like all the magics.
Yeah.
Besides, I think like abjuration.
Yeah.
I know it can not maybe conjuration. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah.
Definitely evocation and alteration, because you can calm beasts with it.
Yeah. So yeah, they call it the Thuum just because it's spoken by voice and it's dragon magic. I think is more. See, and that's where you get into the.
It's kind of like the language in Age of Conan, because if you hear the Greybeard speak, it kind of like causes this boom because it's so powerful and.
Yeah, it's kind of like a living language, like Jazz was saying with the Conan world. Yeah, and
it's basically the same concept. Yeah,
Azurele, you probably could. They said they'd slap the Thuum into mysticism. You probably could do that, but at the same time, mysticism seems to be more of an actual kind of like paladin or thing. It's a class of magic user, not so much maybe a kind of magic itself. I don't know. Yeah. It gets like I said. There's a lot of gray areas in this magic because it's also world dependent, lore dependent. And, we don't really have a catch-all for every little nook and cranny of these things. But that's kind of where a lot of the role players get into trouble with it, is because, you think of it one way, somebody else doesn't. And if you can't reconcile that, or at least gloss over it, which I think most people just gloss over it. But every now and then someone will get a bug stuck in their craw and they will not let it go. And, either you have to give in and change for them, or you just got to brush them off. And
that's my immersion moment, bro. Come on now.
Immersion. So with that, you can really go down the rabbit hole of just the hundreds of different kinds of magic. Most all others draw from, for the most part, they draw from one of these 5 in some way at their base, at their like basic level, or a combination of them. And understand, like we've said, not all, just most. The game you're in, it might have a few variations or specific categories or different classes. For examples of this, we can go two books. One, Sib has always liked The Wheel of Time. The way they do their magic, it's like in strands and things like that, and they actually, weave the magic together, and they tie it off in a way to activate it and keep it going. Largely it's kind of the same concept, but it adds a little nuance to it. The Dresden Files, told you we'd be talking about it a lot. Magic is dispelled by things like running water or sunlight. Hence, ghosts don't last often during the day. That's why you don't see ghosts during the day. Wards have to be constantly repowered and re-energized in that world because the sun weakens them, and eventually it will just dispel them. Another one is the Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearn. The druids in that have to be, in order to use their magic, they have to be in skin to earth contact for that to be able to draw the magical energy from Gaia through the tattoos that are put onto their arm. They can't just pull it out of thin air and things like that. So there's a lot of different nuanced ways that all these things can happen, and like the Iron Druid, he was able to make he made a charm necklace or charm bracelet, I think. Was it a bracelet or a necklace, hon? It was a bracelet, wasn't it?
Bracelet.
Yeah, and the necklace was his iron. He bound his aura to iron so that the fairies would kind of poof if they got too close to him. He wasn't well liked in the Fey courts.
It was called the Fairy Swatter.
Yes, he was literally like a Fey bug zapper.
That's not very nice.
Wormhole needs that. Oh my goodness.
Well, these Fey were not very nice. Mab is not a good person. She is very mean.
Oh yeah, she's cranky.
Yeah, she's quite cranky. But all of these, they all have their own little nuances. Like the bear charm he was able to put earth, like store like a battery. He was able to put earth magic in that. So if he was on concrete or in a building or something like that, he would be able to use magic, but it was very limited. And once it was gone, and he could only restore it by making contact with Gaia again. It was actually a very good series. It just kind of fell apart in the last two books. One of those ones that should have ended a book or two before. Kind of like The Wheel of Time, actually. 14 books was a little long.
I pictured The Wheel of Time a little different. Like, the way they described it, I also read it when I was in high school, which was many years ago.
How many? I'm kidding.
Many.
I'm teasing.
No, I always pictured it like there was this pond of magic that someone peed in half of it. That's where they pulled their magic from.
I forgot about that. Now I can see that. The way it was like dark and like wasn't it like they would go crazy after a while or something if they used it wrong, or was it just the men?
Because like somebody peed on their side of the pool or something.
Yeah.
And they're calling it tainted, and like that's all I could picture.
The great piss pool of Bundrentide.
That's right, yeah, because the women could use magic with no problems, but any man that used it, they ran the risk of going crazy because somebody peed in their side of the pool. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, so there's also things like chi or kai, ki, if you want to be a douchebag, person about it. It's kai. I don't care what you say, kai. Chakra. These are things like eternal energies that like the 7 gates of inside yourself kind of thing. That often this is used for monks. It's the way they got their power. It's something I used a lot on Xanus. A lot of it is done the same way as above. It's just the source is internal with your chakra instead of an external magical source. As much as I hate to admit it, Naruto actually had probably one of the best ways that stuff worked, just with the different gates and the chakra points and things like that, and the way you could activate it. That was one of those ones that they used hand signals to release the power. I know. It's where a lot of bad roleplay comes from, but...
Power creep, though.
Oh, well, yeah. Don't do their power creep. No. Don't do that, because then you'll be summoning giant toads and a slug, and it just gets weird. And then you have a kid named Burrito. That's a stupid name for a kid, Boruto, by the way. Just that's why I've never watched the show. I'm not watching burrito. Sorry.
Actually, it is a food. It is a Japanese food. I think it's a soup, or it's the little, like swirly star thing on the
Oh
soup.
yeah, I always like those.
Sure. But he's named after a food. That's actually pretty common in those kind of anime.
Yeah, Gohan, Vegeta,
Yeah,
all of
Gohan
Dragon
is
Ball Z.
breakfast.
So all right, the other part is the thing with magic is that yes, it is magic, but there are and always should be limits to it. It shouldn't be used as a crutch or a MacGuffin at all times. It's better to think of it's better to really think of magic like science. You know, achievement and knowledge build on one another. You don't get to the smartphone and going to space and landing an orbiter on Mars, to use something that just happened. Because Benjamin Franklin just flew a kite and figured out how it worked. Now, there's been a few hundred years since the discovery of electricity, and honestly, he didn't discover it. We've found working batteries all the way back in ancient times in friggin' Egypt. So, electricity's been around quite a while, but, they didn't instantly be like, oh, well, we know how this works. You don't learn...
Full Metal Alchemist did that really well, I think.
What was that? Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, they did.
They did that really well.
Yeah. And for like the healing, we don't know. We still don't know how to, cure cancer and a lot of other diseases. And while I have every faith that we will get there one day and you will pay out the nose for it, we still can't do it. But considering where we were 100 years ago in fighting cancer compared to today, it's, we're getting there. But it takes time. It's science. You make a theory, you prove it wrong. That one turns out okay. So you progress as it goes along. And magic to me has always been a lot like that, or it should be always thought of like a science.
I think WoW does a great job in explaining magic and science coexisting and turning from fantasy into a kind of steampunk fantasy.
Yes, I don't know enough about WoW, so you'll have to explain that one to me.
So it's kind of hard to explain, actually.
No, we've got about 15 minutes left. Go for it. No.
So WoW, just to help Kishmas out. So the Blood Elves, the elves in the Alliance, had the Sun Well, which they were drawing all their magic from.
Oh, they
that was the source of their power until freaking Arthas had to come and pee in it, essentially, corrupt it, and it stripped them of that source of magic because they couldn't use it anymore. If we go back to the pee reference, so they had to look for other sources of magic. So there's different sources of magic in that world, and you have to tap into it.
I'm just saying, this is why we need a magical Adult Swim so that we quit getting people peeing in our magical pools.
It totally works for it.
And the dwarves and the gnomes are like, fuck you, machinery.
Yeah,
pretty much.
See, and I've always been a fan of those fantasies that they'll use like magic is like that's their basically that's their energy, it's their power source, but it's magical energy. Strafe, you might remember that documentary on the Shinra Corporation that used Mako energy.
Oh yeah, they were tapping into the life energy of the planet.
Yeah, they almost destroyed it because they were they were an allegory for big oil, but still.
But hey, I had to have my power and my watch my TV at the time. I don't care.
Yeah, screw that.
I live on the upper plate. What's up with that?
And also build a giant fucking gun to get rid of the what was the emerald?
Weapon.
Ruby?
One of the weapons, yeah.
One of the weapons.
Mid-car cannon, that thing is a glorious documentary.
It was a good documentary, yeah. A tale of warning. So, also looking forward to the remake of that documentary, but that's just me.
It's a belief in the real world,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna update some of the. It was rather primitive, kind of the. Yeah, little jagged, little 48p or 480. But see, for me, that's magic. I really do think it's always best to be thought of like a science. It's like an off-brand. It may not be circuitry and things like that, but the theories and things like that, just like with actual science, you really do have to build on it. You can't get, even with like healing magics and stuff like that. First, they still had to, they had to dissect probably a lot of bodies, figure out how all this shit worked and things like that. So they're not just like, they're not the doctor from The Simpsons, Dr. Nick, like the left bone's connected to my wristwatch, that kind of thing. You don't want to be, or Sib having her armor still on her and scorched, as someone's like, I'm just gonna heal you now, and then she roleplayed that they healed the armor into their skin, and then there was a big fight.
Oh God.
Yeah, you remember that one, don't you, Sib?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was not having a good time with that person. This is why it's always good to be descriptive and say, oh, don't just assume people know, I removed your armor, when you don't say, I removed your armor. It's a good life lesson. So, moving on, a lot of people have used Magic 2 as, and this comes up, unfortunately, a lot, as a kind of instant win button. And all things, it's no worse than, healing. Other than the example I just gave of Sib, one of the things I've had to Tarvala when I was, gone in most of October is that she had lost her leg and got blasted in the face. Like, her leg was cut right off. She was staring at the bottom of the boot. It didn't go well. So they actually did manage to, the reinforcements got there, and the healers managed to get her leg and stick it back on, and then used as much, the healing magic to at least get the bone and skin and blood vessels to knit back together where they were, because it was a clean cut. But even with that, I mean, that right there by itself is kind of a big deal. We can do that here in the modern age as well, but there's complications to that. It's not it's not like, well, and you're done. There's a healing process required, but I can't tell you, since I've done that, and her right eye is cloudy. Like, she can see out of it, but it's like when you're outside and you've got your eyes closed and someone steps out of you and you can see that, that somebody's there. She can see about that well out of it right now. And it'll probably get better, but the number of healer type people that have been like, I can make your pain go away and fix your eye, is annoyingly all of them, for the most part.
Oh, I've experienced that so much, and oh my God, hell hath no fury like a healer who
Scorned.
Can't just heal you perfect.
Yeah, and that's it's
I had to deal with that a lot too.
Yeah, it's like an instant win button,
Cial
right?
Remember that when Cial got hurt, and
when she got real hurt bad.
It was 3 real life months before I could play her again. And, we role-played out her healing process, and they were like, why didn't you just go see a healer?
See, and that's...
We did. But her bones had to be regrown, and her nerves had to regrow, and...
Again, the difference between action and consequences and long-term healing magic versus instant jazz hands magic.
Yeah.
Oh, healers get so butthurt about that, though.
Different jazz.
Different jazz, yeah.
Oh, no.
Didn't even for a second I was like, why would you call her jazz? Oh, jazz hands, gotcha. But no, it really is. That's healing has got to be one of the worst role play of all the things role played with magic. Healing is definitely the worst in my book.
It is the most often god modded. It is.
Yes.
And they get sincerely irritated if they can't make you 100%. Cial is still not 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And every single person that has found out that she still has a bad leg, that every now and then acts up and the nerve decides to just go banana shit for a couple of minutes. And she kind of hops around on one leg, and then she's like, just give me a minute.
It just,
again.
Tarvala, hers was cut off mid thigh. So, like, it was it was a good clean cut. They just lopped her leg right off. I'm sure there's some tearing and cracking and stuff, so they were able to put it back together. But that's a lot to put together. There's the nerve endings, the muscle tissue, the bone, the veins.
I think a lot of it, honestly, part of the reason with healing in particular, and this is going to open up a whole new kettle of fish, but basically, most people do not have any concept of biology. Our country in particular has failed in this particular area of education. So most people do not
Tell
know.
us, Jazz. Give us our history lesson.
And it drives me crazy because my mother was a chiropractor, or is a chiropractor, and went to chiropractic school and made me, well, I was kind of a juvenile delinquent.
Is or what?
We'll just say that. And so if I didn't go to school, she didn't want to leave me home alone because she knew I'd run off with my druggy friends. So I had to go to school with her.
Sorry. I think I'm not about the only one that thought that was funny.
Druggy friends, all right.
I had some very bad friends. And I don't even bother tonight. They were bad people. So, and my mother knew that. Even though I never told her, she could just take one look at them and knew they were bad news. So she didn't want me to stay home because she knew I'd run off with them. So I went to school with her, which was ultimately boring for a 14, 15-year-old, you can imagine. But I sat in her classes. I helped her in her dissection classes. I quizzed her for her studies, that kind of thing. And against my will, learned more about the body than I ever wanted to know. And so now as a healer, when I'm healing, it actually, amusingly, makes my healing, in my opinion, more realistic and more believable. Because I don't just go, boop. I actually know there's nerves and tissue and bone and ligaments and tendons, and there's all these things that have to be regrown. And that's not easy.
Yeah. That's...
Again, the detailed healer, actions and consequences versus the jazz hands healer. No jazz.
Yeah. And there's so many people that are just like, poof.
Well, I think healers, just by nature, I mean, you guys remember Alika, she was the healer.
Yeah.
I think we kind of go into it initially with our idea of our character's abilities at a certain level. And then if, we go to heal someone and that person says, okay, well, there's going to be a scar there, or, well, it doesn't heal all the way or whatever. The healer kind of takes it as a personal affront, and the player behind the keyboard, I'm not saying I did this because I didn't, but the player behind the keyboard kind of takes it personally, like it's a personal attack on...
Like, you're not powerful enough to heal me.
Yeah, kind of like that. So when I played Alika and I would heal people, and they would say, okay, well, this is how much healing was done. Okay, I did my best. If you need me again, let me know,
And that's why we rolled to put a bit of a kibosh on people who wanted to stay wounded even after they were healed, beyond the normal, what I would consider to be acceptable amounts of disability from something.
Because there are those that will go the other way, like, oh no, yes. I stubbed my toe in the night. I'm probably going to die of dysentery now.
Yeah, I mean, there are people like that. There are people who would be like, no, it didn't get healed. She's going to have an infection in the morning. You're going to have to... No, I'm not. Here, let's roll and see how... Oh, okay, yeah, we can roll. Oh, look at that. It did heal. Imagine that.
Yeah, because there's... I mean, like I said, it varies on how badly you're hurt. Like, if it's a simple... Like, if it's a flesh wound, merely a scratch... Not that difficult. Skin, really, I mean, it's one giant organ. It's not terribly hard to heal when it's, superficial. That's why they call it superficial. It's on the superficial.
It's only a flesh wound.
Merely a scratch.
Well, yeah, but like you said, if you get, your entire leg lopped off.
Yeah, or if it's a deep cut or organs are nicked, you've got it, intestines get nicked, and then you've got things like sepsis and, just all sorts of other horrible things that happen that they just don't think of it. But that's why you have to think of healing magic as a science. It's basically, instead of using, a needle and thread and all the funky ass little, how they can do a tiny, was it our Papa Junior? We call him. He's our Sib's grandfather. He recently had. What was it, Han? He had heart surgery.
Yeah, they had to put a clamp on one of the valves up to his heart.
Yeah, 2 clamps on his heart. They went in through just underneath his, where your stomach meets your pelvis. Like, they did heart surgery through his stomach, as opposed to where they used to do it, and they still do for, really bad ones, where they just open up your entire chest cavity. They don't really have to do. That's only in extreme cases these days. You can do massive heart surgery through, 4, 5, 6 tiny little incisions inside your stomach. It's amazing.
They use a camera instead of their eyes.
Yeah.
And they go inside, and there's less of an incision, and it heals faster. And you can honestly say, using magic, there is a way, I would think, in the mind's eye, to see something that can't be seen. So I don't have a problem with people saying that. I have a problem when
at the same time, we can see that, and we can do that, and we can go in there, and even with magic, if you can see that and do that, and then you can heal and, cut things off, there's still only so much that the body still would, in my opinion, it's always that the body is a better healer than any magic. If you let it, you heal it to the point where it can take care of itself, because it will, it's that's one of those things they always do with clones and stuff. When they do like accelerated clone growth, it's dangerous. It often leads to madness. They have very short life expectancies. A lot of times they can't slow it down, so they just, they get to the age of 20 in, a couple months, but you've only got another 6 months before they're the age of 60, and then they're dead. It's
okay. You're talking about Star Wars, right?
There's that one too, but there's been a lot of sci-fi
that's not new. That's saying that if you forcibly use magic or the Force or whatever you want to call it to speed up growth, it's a lot harder to slow growth down than it is to speed growth up.
Yeah,
so once you speed it up, then what do you do?
That's just the natural state for it from there on out, and it's a lot harder to stop that. But yeah, and there's been other sci-fi things that have, cloning is always, that's like the real world one right now, where I forget what country they were talking about that's actually talking about genetically engineering.
That would be China.
Was it China that's doing that? Yep. And most of the other scientific community around the world's like, can we not?
Well, not only that, but
because we don't know the consequences of those people breeding with other people that aren't genetically engineered. I mean, have you seen that documentary, The Wrath of Khan? Yeah. It doesn't end well.
Well, there's also when we have cloned, which isn't cloning, it's just Force 20. But when we've had clones, like the sheep, Dolly the sheep, she died. Mm-hmm. Because she grew older too fast, partly because of the cloning process. Perhaps we don't really know.
Yeah.
So
something wasn't right.
Twice as bright, lives half as long.
Yeah. So
here's looking at you, Dolly.
We're learning that whole concept really, but when it comes to the game, I think people are not paying attention to.
As Ashen said, you just got to look between the documentaries of Wrath of Khan and Blade Runner, and it's trouble.
Yeah, seriously.
Exactly. Well, and that's why I say you got to look at healing magic as science, because it can't be a MacGuffin. It can't be the catch-all. The other thing it does is, especially in roleplay, is it ruins the fun of Okay, great. You're healed now. Well, any
potential roleplay.
Yeah, it kills it kills the story, is what it does. You've just killed the story.
And it's amazing to me how many people truly are upset when they can't insta-heal the person that they want to heal.
Yeah, and I get wanting to help people. I think that's where part of that comes from. But
a lot of it comes from attention. Yeah. They want to be the person that saved that person. And there are many people. There was 2 people in EQ2, and there's a couple people here in ESO that when they heal someone, they are automatically bound to them for life.
Oh, that would be God money, yeah.
And they'll tell people that, okay, I've healed you, now we have a special connection forever.
Okay, where's my ring?
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate my doctor for healing me, but I mean, I'm not going to go pick out throw pillows and curtains with them.
But again, it comes down to not really understanding restoration concepts or the magical concept or science. Just a fail on all.
Blinded us with science.
So people out there playing healers,
think of it.
It's a little more nuanced than just like
be healed.
Yeah. But it was actually, I know at least 5 or 6 people in EQ2 that did that. That was actually a very common thing. That and the whole take the wound into yourself thing were the 2 most common ways to heal in EQ2. And in Silver Circle, we had to put a stop to and say, no, that's not going to happen here. Learn a new way.
You had people that got their heads chopped off, but they came back. You know, at some point.
That is true.
It's like a Marvel comic.
It's just bad.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll probably hit more because the next 2 episodes we're going to focus on the dark magics and then the lighter magics. So dark magic will be next week. Light magic and things like that will be the week after that. So I'm sure we'll probably hit more up on that again. I
had a fight with someone about the Defiler lore.
You don't know the power of the dark side. Next episode.
That's right. So we're wrapping up here. One other thing that happens a lot with Magic too is being creative with it. I've seen this actually go both ways. One, a lot of people aren't, and some that are, they go way too far. But they aren't. So no.
Well, too bad.
There you go. Now you're learning.
So I don't know like a ton about ESO lore, and when I was playing it more heavily, my character Bree was something of a bard. That's kind of how I wanted to play her. Mm-hmm. And when I discovered the Sijic line, I think that's how you pronounce it. One of the things they had that I used a lot was that time stop skill, which only stopped time for a couple seconds. And I like to think outside of the box with magic and stuff. So one of the things, that's my cat, I'm sorry. Hey, we're talking here. Okay. One of the things that I did and how I used that spell was when she went up on stage to sing, I would have her kind of conjure the Stygic bubble or whatever it was around her, and she would harmonize with herself. Like she would stop time and sing, kind of like when Queen used the
you used multiple tracks basically in real time.
Yeah. And that's how I would use it. And nobody got mad. Nobody like called me out for it or anything. So
that's a pretty innocent use of it too, though. I mean, that like it literally hurts nobody to do something like that. But it is like you said. That's actually pretty creative. And I have seen people get really upset trying to be creative and combining like 2 spells in different ways. Like one of the ones I've done is Tarval is good with fire and she's good with earth. You combine those 2 into an attack, you get kind of a
hot
magma buzz. You get magma buzz. And nobody's really ever said anything because I think it makes enough sense that it's not that big a deal.
It's also because it exists in game. We have magma spells. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but I've also done things. There was one instance where someone was shooting fireballs, and I tried to bat it back, and they're like, "Do you not know how magic works? You mean that thing that doesn't exist?" Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of it, but she empowered. I had her, magically charge her weapon. It was a training thing too. It wasn't like it was combat. It didn't really even matter. And she, batted it away. And they're like, no, it should have exploded and covered her and killed her. It's like, well, no, it shouldn't have. And you're being a douchebag.
There is a thing called a reflective spell.
Yeah, I know. And it's basically, it was on the weapon. And I just did it like it was a baseball bat. I was just having fun.
That's the point when you just say, you know what? You're absolutely right. You won the game.
Oh, no. I just walked away. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go do something else away from this kind of stupidity.
Oh, did you pull the Xanax?
Yeah, I just walked away.
The one type of magic I won't do because I feel it's a little OP to use in RP is absorption spells.
Yeah.
I feel like that would get.
How do you mean like somebody shoots the fireball at you and you just suck it into yourself?
You just suck it in.
Oh, okay.
Fart it out.
No, I could see that. And if you
also absorbing like essence is like it's kind of vampiric. You vampire, not vampire.
Like a succubus kind of a thing for that. That would be more like a succubus, yeah.
There are
minus the
people
actual
that
dick
do that,
sucking.
yes.
Yeah. Of course you are. But no, and if you did like the absorption thing, like I could see that maybe like 1 or 2 would be like kind of like, like if you rolled, if say for example, if you were in combat with somebody like a duel and you got the high roll so that you didn't take the damage, maybe you could do that like once or twice, and then if you failed it, you would have to be like, the power you've taken in all you can, and then you got the shit kicked out of you.
Or you took too much.
Yeah.
I really don't think.
I'm just going with it as if me personally, I would never even do that.
I don't think. Yeah, I would have a hard time even saying that that's even possible. I can see shields. I can see shedding it, all of that. But taking it into yourself is like you're not mortal. There's no way you can do that as a mortal.
Yeah, because
they even have examples of Daedric artifacts. The Periide shield is a Daedric a Dwemer shield that has spell reflect on it. I mean, that's the artifact,
and it basically just reflects it.
I hope no one RPs that in ESO. I would.
I've seen it already at least once.
As many role players, there's always somebody. Yeah,
there's always somebody who says that they can open his mouth and swallow the spell or something.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
I know, it was really bad. It was really bad.
It was like a reverse dragon.
Yeah, it's like the reverse Dragon Ball. Instead of opening your mouth and shooting out a Kai Blast, you're opening it and swallowing it, which I think someone else has done in Dragon Ball Z as well.
Or like there was a gentleman that got a fireball thrown at him from behind, and like possesses the ability to just absorb all magic thrown at him.
Oh, see, and
so it hit him and just soaked into his skin, and
like
that feels good, man.
And he shrugged and was like, "Oh, what was that?" And you're just like, "Oh, please."
Yeah, like the menaces I've created, they have magic resistance, but even that, it only goes so far. Anything can be overwhelmed if you hit it hard enough. No matter what it is.
I like electricity because I think it's the most versatile of all of them because it can, go against almost anything, can turn things into fire, and it's just that's why I've made it Rajir's main evocation spells is.
You're not wrong, Kishman. It's lightning, shock, and lightning is pretty excellent in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. So there's ways of doing it that I really do think people should experiment more. Combine 2 different spells and make as long as it's within reason. And it's like all things in roleplay. There's got to be a downside and an upside. You can only do it so many times. Maybe it's not as strong, but there's also a thing. For me personally, one of my favorite things for roleplay is it doesn't really exist, but it's style points. I like to do something I try to keep. Entertain myself as well as the people I'm there with. Jazz, you might remember this. Back when we were playing Star Wars The Old Republic on my character Xanatos, who was like a Sith Marshal, I was in a fight with some people, and he got injured with his blood. And what he did was, it played out perfectly too, because the rolls it was all roll based, so it went perfect. But he actually put his fingers into the wound and then splashed the blood out in front of him, which at the time made absolutely no sense to anybody. Then the guy he was fighting with charged him, and what he did was with the puddle of blood, he basically connected through the force in the puddle to all the tiny little droplets he threw out in front of him and sent force lightning through it. And because they were all physically connected, the lightning shot up through all those tiny little droplets as the guy was running straight at him. And I won the roll, and even the guy itself was like, okay, that was pretty cool. Just the visual. It was just for fun. If they called, like, you can't do that, I would have been fine. That's, if I failed it, no big deal. But the Sith, it's old school Sith, so there was lots of different variations on, blood was a big thing on a lot of their stuff in that game. And
I remember there was, in the Force, they used those creatures that dulled the Force. Remember that would null it around them?
And they used that as a weapon? Yeah, the problem was the Isalamiri were not really around. I mean, they've been around for a long time, but yeah, that was always...
I didn't mind, and I had actually been through a quest where those existed. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But the funny part is that in her story, that's how she was trained, with one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So that if she was ever to lose her force, she could still fight.
Yeah, she didn't have to rely on the Force. She
right. She didn't rely on the
things.
Force. That was one of the nice things I liked about the character, was even though she was a Sith, she still worked out every day without the Force, with nullifying wards and stuff to force her to do the physical labor herself. And this guy threw it on her, and she still kicked his ass. And I explained, because at first he was like, "That's God modding," and I explained it. And I said, you can go to my website, you can read all the stories, like where she's working out, because I'm not making this up. She can do this. And he took it. And it was actually nice because we ended up being friends. But initially he was really upset because his little trick didn't work.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's like trying to because the Isol Miri also there's more to I had more problems with that for lore reasons than I did for the fact that they're Force bubble, because they're very delicate creatures. Like, you can't really remove them from their branch.
No.
The branch they're in, their nails their nails grow into it, which is what they draw the nutrients from. So they are actually in nutrient cages, still attached to the branch when in the Thrawn trilogy when he did it. And most people are just like, like they were just some like a ferret. It's like, no, they're not. It's just running around rampant, and
I didn't know about that till long after, when I actually read about it.
That was my problem with it, because I'm a nerd.
And I was like, well, nobody told me that, but I mean, it worked
at that point, and you don't even play, so who gives a shit?
Random note: now Thrawn's back in the canon. Maybe they're coming back too.
Could be, yeah. But by the way, if you haven't read that book, Strafe, it was good.
Dang it, man! No, I haven't. I'll find it.
It was good. So what? Again, still closing up. The other one, aside from being creative, make sure you don't go too far. And one of the worst examples of that would probably be telepathy. Because that's a power. I mean, I've done it. I think Jazz has done it, but it's one you have to really, really temper yourself with, because a lot of people can godwand with it, and it really does require consent of the people around you. Because some get upset when you don't let them, if they're a telepath and you don't let them read your character's mind, and they demand you spill their, your character's life story in an OOC so they'll know it in character. It's happened quite often with me.
Yeah, and and I tell them, look, telepathy is only reading the external thoughts, not like deep mind, unless you've got them tied down on a bench or something.
It's not the Professor Xavier version,
Yeah, I mean, telepathy is not all powerful, and I don't really think you can read someone's inside thoughts. You just read their extraneous kind of wandering thoughts. I could see that, which is why I had always said that if you're emoting your emotion or you're emoting your thoughts, that's open season, sorry. And then they'll turn around and say, I never said that. Actually, you did. You said he thinks this.
You typed it out, so you shouldn't do that.
You typed it out, so you own it. And my character's a telepath, and she heard it.
I know some people get real upset when you do that. I was told once, and I think it was Age of Conan, they're like, why don't emote your thoughts. Is like, well, now you know what my character's thinking, and yes, you probably know what their expression is like. If you don't like it, ignore me, because I'm not going to change my roleplay style for you. Go fuck yourself. But again, you've got telepathy is one that's really overused. It's fun. It can be fun, but you really got to reel it in. And
it is important to remember that there are other people around.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not overdone.
That's one of the reasons I did that with Xanis, has made him mentally strong, was just so that everybody that tried that would be like, nope, you run up against roadblocks because I don't want to deal with your bullshit. So,
usually you can make people go away when they try that if you say, fine, roll.
Yeah.
You'll have to roll more than a 95 to
Yeah.
get anything from me for each train of thought.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
I just try to think of the most boring surface thoughts.
I know.
Oh,
I did that on Vodka. This guy was like, and he was willing to roll, and he did. We rolled like, I swear, 40 times, and all he got out of Vodka was some very, very pornographic images.
Oh, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, diddly did.
Yeah.
There they are, standing in a row.
Yeah, and then he got her remembering something, and he got her masturbating. There we go. That's all I got.
And she left the stove on. No.
Oh yeah.
That's what mine would be like. Did I leave the stove on?
Yeah, I know.
I forgot to
So
pick up
it was a
cheese.
lot of fun. It was a lot of random stuff, and he's like, "Seriously, you're just fucking with me." So no, actually, I'm sitting here. I typed out a whole bunch of different things she could be thinking about, and I've wrote it down. Numbers next to it for your rolls, because he would win the roll, and then I have him roll.
Got her to stay at Ash and high five.
Boom. So, all right. Well, that about covers the basics of kind of what we'll base everything else somewhat off of. So for the next couple episodes, we're gonna go dark, neutral, light magics, things like that. Kind of go into the different classes of like people and like the actual class and what would use that magic and things like that, and the way it would be role played out. Darker obviously would be, we're going to go over like necromancers, like if there's blood magic kind of, blood magic was a Conan thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, blood magic was sort of
and it's in Secret World too, yeah.
And it was in EQ too.
Yeah. So, neutral, what I would say neutral would be like the druids and shamans, nature stuff, because nature for me has always been neutral. It's both good and bad. It kills things, it rejuvenates from that, blah blah blah. And light magics will be the paladins, divine magic, things like that. And that will
lawful douchebag.
Lawful douchebag. So that'll be our next 2 episodes as we go over magic and how to use it, and just kind of wind down the year with some complicated but easy and fun stuff at the same time. So, like I said, next week's will be kind of our defense against the dark arts and things like that. So, just make sure you bring your human-bound skin and books. Your Necronomicons, that kind of thing. Make sure you got those ready. So before we head out, anybody got any last thoughts on magic? How to use it? How to roleplay with it?
They're all dirty finger wigglers, man.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, I mean, just be reasonable.
Be reasonable. Try to be logical.
Know your fucking anatomy.
Yes, please.
For real, though.
All right.
Put your big girl panties on so you don't get butthurt.
Yep.
That's right. So, all right. Turn up the music there. Well, hope everyone had a good time. Appreciate everybody tuning in to us live tonight at Saturday, 7 Central over at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio. If you ever want to watch a show live and you're able to do it, maybe while you're role playing or questing, as long as it doesn't read the quest to you out loud, because it's hard to do both, and I don't like that. So with that, appreciate everybody. I want to remind and thank my crew: Jazz, Kishma, Sib, Strafe, Yunfei, and Rahana, our call screener, who is probably sound asleep due to the sultry sound of my voice, who, despite what he says, he thinks about almost all day long. So we'll tune in next time as we go over halflings and why it is that they were probably created by horrible, unnatural magics and should be destroyed on the spot. I'm just saying they're bad people. Why are you still here? I mean, don't you have better things to do? Or just go away. Just
next time.
Go away.
RPMMORadio.
Good night, everybody. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMORadio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by the one, the only Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.